We are going live. Going live, soon to be live. We're streaming now live, Melvin, just so you know. Okay. Almost done there, and probably we are live already. Redirecting to Facebook. Getting ready. Okay, a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody at Cornerstone and outside of Cornerstone, a very big welcome here at another Cornerstone Live. This is becoming a almost daily routine, twice a day, again live with a very special guest today with us. And we just want to welcome, first of all, everybody that is already live with us. Make sure that you start sharing this already. Why? Because we're going to talk about something so interesting and so important. We're just going to talk about the global property market. The title of today is The Impact of this Crisis on the Global Property Market. And we have a very special guest with us today. And we want to make sure that we give as much value as possible. So how are you, Melvin?
I'm very well, Taco. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you to Cornerstone for this opportunity, for having me online. Very much humble.
Of course, Melvin. Of course, Melvin. I'll give you an official.
I will give you whatever.
Yeah, I will give you an official introduction later. But in the meantime, a lot of people are already coming online. Mervin, sure. Eugene, Carol is already online. Everybody here to support you. So, guys, start sharing this with your friends, families, neighbors, children, and even to the dogs and the cats in the house. Make sure that they start seeing this unit, because I actually had a little, I was quite fortunate to have a little session before this with Melvin, and what he is going to share with you is going to blow your mind. No pressure, Melvin, no pressure, but it is going to blow your mind. It's going to show you what actually opportunities we have as property agents, as people that are doing business in the property market. But on top of that, Melvin also will explain a little bit about what is happening on the global scene, what is happening in Malaysia, and what would that mean for us and for the people around us in the property market. So as we are slowly getting ready, people coming on board, already getting close to 20, say hi to Melvin and myself in the comment box. We are super happy that you're here tonight at 8 p.m. Melvin is ready. Trust me, he is prepared and he's ready and well to kick off, but not before I give him a short introduction later. But if you're here, make sure that you like it. Make sure you give a comment. Hi, Scott. Hi, Yvonne. Welcome to the group here. Again, Yao Long is with us today, of course. So we want to make sure that we give as much value as possible. Today here with a very special guest, Melvin Koh, that will talk about the impact of this crisis on the global property market. A very interesting topic that we all want to know more about. There's a lot of news out there. If I go on Google and read the articles, there's a lot of, I think nobody really has a grip yet on what is really happening in the global property market, because we are in the midst of the crisis. Of course, we would have to see what is happening after we get out of this crisis, or whenever this, this MCO is over. What does that mean for the real estate? What is happening in China right now? Big hits in the US right now based on the virus that is spreading there. So what would that actually mean for our property market? That's everything that I'm going to discuss today with Melvin. So hopefully everybody's ready. We're getting more counts in. We're getting up to 24. So let's start slowly in 1 minute. Get ready to share this with your friends, with your neighbors, with your parents, with your uncles, because people want to know what is going to happen in the property market. And we got a special guest, Melvin, with us on board today to share all about this. And if I'm going to give you an introduction about him, and that will give you some clear sense what kind of credentials this guy has, and that he clearly knows what he's talking about when it comes to the global property market. That's why I'm so happy that we are having us with us today, because I've been looking all around to get some news. I've been looking around to get some grip on what is really happening. So I'm already very fortunate that I can do this interview with Melvin. On top of that, of course, sharing all this information with everybody here on the Cornerstone Estate page. So let me just first start with a quick introduction. Melvin Koh is already 50 years in the international real estate scene, having done business in Australia, London, and Singapore. Apart, of course, being together with Cornerstone, he also runs a company called Benham and Reeves as operations of property management, sales acquisitions, furnishing and refurbishment projects for owners and tax filings here in KL, mainly for owners who own in London. He overseeing a lot of things in Malaysia, Thailand, and in the Indonesian market. In Malaysia, they currently have grown up a portfolio of about 350 to 400 landlords and owners who own properties in London. And his work experience is very diverse from areas like Dubai, Jakarta, Mumbai, and of course, London. So ladies and gentlemen, please give us a warm welcome to Melvin Koh. Melvin, good evening.
Good evening, Taco. Thank you for the kind introduction. So without further ado, I think I would jump into what I have to say and what I've collated over this past few days since I've been called to this conference. So we'll break it down into three areas. The first area would be the macro perspective of what I foresee is happening now in the global real estate market as the impact of the virus on certain countries and civilizations. Then I will cover on a much more micro perspective on how this will impact Malaysia as well as our investors, our real estate industry, etc. And of course, last but not least, every agent now is a bit anxious. I understand that everyone is a bit anxious and have a bit of anxiety. That is normal with uncertainty. But I will also share that these are indeed very exciting times. I'm always a contrarian. Every crisis, there is an opportunity. And today, I think it's good that we focus on the opportunistic side or the side of opportunity and on a more positive note. I think there's a lot of morbid news out there. But let us start. And before we start, I would like to take you all back and see. We cannot predict the future, but we can always look at what history tells us, and history tends to repeat itself. Yeah. So what we are seeing now, as you all know, global financial crisis is usually a 10-year cycle. But what we are experiencing now is unprecedented times. Yeah, we are seeing what we call a 100-year cycle. Yeah, and why I say these are exciting times is because it is a global reset. A global reset meaning it evens out the entire playing field globally. Nothing like this has happened before globally. We had the dot-com bust, we had the Asian financial crisis. Of course, we have the GFC last time in 2008, but that was more for US and Europe, and Malaysia, we were not that affected, but this is global. So if you look at history, when was the last situation like this? We won't go back that far, 100 years. We go back 200 years. As of 1820, we had the Great Black Plague in Europe, or the Great Cholera outbreak. And every time a crisis like this happens, we see a revolution. Once the plague was done off with, 1820, we had the Industrial Revolution, right? The Industrial Revolution brought the glorious years of industry and wealth to Europe, to UK, to London primarily. Queen Victoria was queen, and that was when they said that the sun will never set on the British Empire. So that was that. And then it flourished. Then 1920 came another catastrophe. You had the Spanish flu, which wiped out about a quarter of the Earth's population, 250 million people. We hope this COVID-19 does not, but it cooled the Earth by 2 degrees. That's a fun fact. That was how much. But then after that, another revolution occurred. That was the telecommunications revolution. Graham Bell founded the telephone, telegram, ease of business, and another person. Now, if you look at global businesses, monopolies and oligopolies, that's what they say. You become a billionaire by having monopolies. All the monopolies were formed at this period of time. You have the Rockefellers, you have Carnegies, yeah, so on and so forth in the US. And of course, you have the Grosvenors in London, and all the lords in London, they made their wealth during this time. Now, with this, if wealth were to trickle down, there needs to be a shake in the system. In Malaysia, we don't have a wealth distribution system. We don't have inheritance tax. GST was supposed to do that, but that was already done off with. So what do we wait for? For the man on the street? Of course, now what is happening now, it will shake a lot of businesses. Now, being a realist, and we need to be realistic, and we have to accept the fact that some businesses will go under, people will be retrenched, salaries will be cut. But what's in it good for us as agents and agencies are, number one, you guys are already built as entrepreneurs. Your mindset is already enhanced for that. Secondly, you don't depend on a paycheck or a monthly salary. That means your mode of functioning is not one of, wait for my next month's salary. So you would fare better. And of course, good news on the recruitment side is that you will definitely have much more people coming in to be real estate agents, and good experienced people as that, because some of them might have salary cuts and retrench. Okay, so that is one part. Now, looking at how it will impact, I'll slightly talk about a little bit about London and Australia. It's because these two countries are closest to us in terms of law, in terms of being the Commonwealth. So 1820, 1920. So now 1920 was the telecommunications revolution. 2020 now we have COVID-19, 100 years later. So what is the next revolution? The next revolution is what we are now living. It is called the AI revolution, right? And this will shake the entire global business system, with us having to do business virtually, having to function virtually. So I would suggest agents to be prepared. Other than your physical self, is you need to create a virtual self. Your virtual self is already created, whether you like it or not, via your Facebook accounts, your Instagram accounts, your Zoom accounts. So now it's very interesting, is because once businesses accept the fact that this outbreak might come back again, it might not die in a year or two, even if it goes away, it might come back again. So how do we prepare for a climate like that in the event the next occurrence does? Yeah. So what we are seeing now is the absolute collapse of physical space. It means in a virtual environment, time and space has no more meaning. So how do we do business in an environment like that? Everyone is still figuring out, and there's a lot of opportunities for businesses that can ultimately figure this out. If you can still continue to function in the case that the next outbreak occurs. And I think businesses and agents and all of us needs to be prepared for that. So this is the exciting part, is because nobody has the answers. Nobody, not even Trump, not even Boris, not even our Prime Minister. And this is something that really needs answering from all businesses and future leaders. So this is something that we need to answer. So on another note, then, how will this impact countries like London and Europe? We are seeing that the level of preparedness of Europe for this outbreak is not good. You can see that. You can see at the level of graphs. I'm sure that you all been seeing the curve of the graph for all these many nations. Be it Europe and Spain are the most hard hit, France, Germany. In London, we are talking about a 6 months lockdown, 6 months lockdown. And so we are also very wary of what will happen, but look at Asia, you have Korea, you have Japan, which the curve is a bit flat. You have Malaysia. Now, whatever whether you're pro this government or against this government is irrelevant. We need a government. And I think in under this kind of circumstances, which no government has functioned before in these unprecedented times. We are looking at 150 today, 150 yesterday. So our curve is quite flat. Now, every time a 100-year revolution occurs, the pendulum shifts. In 1820, the glory days were the British Empire. 1920 was the onset of the Great American Dream. Now we have 2020. Where do you think the pendulum shift be? The pendulum shift will now be towards, of course, your guess is as good as mine, to Asia. And the country that recovers the fastest or are most prepared or are deemed able to counter or provide countermeasures, or it seems safe, will be the next, I foresee, will be the next safe haven for people to put their money in, for people to come and live in, for people to raise their families, for people to have an education. So this is an opportunity for brand Malaysia, primarily in Asia, because we are looking at industries need to function no matter what. Once it recovers, is which country recovers faster. So the flow of capital would come, I think, towards China, and China then trickle down to us, whatever, how much of it is left, if we can function. US, they have a catastrophic rate now of infections. The healthcare there is not as great as ours, in the sense that we have public healthcare. Over there, you need insurance. And one thing that is working great for us now is that the isolation of the cases. If you have this COVID-19, you will be isolated in government hospitals. Private hospitals don't take that. So I think this is a very good countermeasure that we have. So all this will then be put into white papers, countries would discuss. And of course, now we have the testing here. And I see that these are great opportunities for us in the real estate industry to promote ourselves, not just locally. You have to start looking at putting brand Malaysia out there with other countries. Platforms like Juwai, for the Chinese to come, because people will need now in this environment, they will need a safe haven. They will need an escape plan. The rich will have that. The people with money will do that. Previously, Malaysians' escape plan was to Australia, where they believe it is a better country to prosper and all that. But now this test is in the pudding. Of course, the test of the taste, you taste the pudding to test it ultimately, will be how our countries are stopping this from happening to its citizens. And this would, the countries that are better prepared in this would have the cake of the economic pie once everything is settled down. So I think if real estate agencies and agents, why I say you need a virtual self is because Malaysia would take time to recuperate. Some people will be affected. So where does your business come from? Your business has to come from somewhere. And we have to tap into people who are looking for safe havens. Yeah, so this is something that we need to think out of the box, have an international presence. We have to stop thinking that we are real estate agents anymore. We have to start thinking that we are assisting global investors in, number one, preserving their capital, number two, in helping them making money, in number three, securing their future. Because you have 5 vehicles to put your money in. You have stocks, you have properties, you have cash, you have gold, you have bonds. Gold has gone extremely high. Stocks is too volatile. Properties, people start to realize that at this time of need, my stocks is shit. My cash might devalue because my FD is at lower than 3%. The Feds have reduced it to 0. Cash rate is at 0.25% in the UK. Aussie is the same. So my money in my bank is worthless. And if it goes negative, I have to pay the bank to keep my money. So soon, they will need to put their money somewhere. And where then we need to give them a reason of where to put it. So why I say we need to take away the stigma of we are just real estate agents and revolutionize our thinking in a way is because we are securing their future. you have to explain to them maybe in the near future why the FD does not work, why putting it in a landed property in Desa Park City is of a much better option, because this 2 weeks or this 1 month, a lot of people are thinking about their lives. What is going to happen to my children? What is going to happen to me? A lot of people has lost money in the stock market. I can assure you that my FD rates are not performing, and inflation rate on general is about 10% every year. If the FD does not balance that, then where else do I put my money? If I put my money in a home, in case of a lockdown, I can still run there, and property doesn't devalue to zero. Stocks do devalue to zero. And these are important times. And I think if we can create a virtual presence to international buyers as well as local buyers, we would be able to capture more business during the recovery period, and as well as be ahead of the curve. You know, so these are things that no country is prepared of. Many countries were spending a lot of monies on nuclear deterrence because of a fear of a nuclear war, but nuclear war will never happen, not in our lifetime. A lot of people are saying this because everyone has checkmate each other with a nuclear weapon. You know, if you fire at me, I'll fire at you. But no one has invested in virus deterrent. And countries are now, and businesses are now just finding out. So why I said the playing field is being leveled now, because it is, no one is smarter than the other. No one has the database of experience that I have over you. Yeah, in times like this. If you talk about a normal recession or a financial crisis, maybe the experts will have. But now it's as such. So we can only predict that the countries that fare well, fare better, and takes care of its citizens and control the virus better will be able to recover faster. The flow of capital will come here. That's number two. Number three, businesses would be revolutionized, because again, it's an AI revolution. You will need to start looking at your virtual self. How do you have a virtual presence? I mean, we have been doing all this, but I think now it's taking it to the level where I think smart contracts will be introduced, DocuSign will be introduced, policies will be changed, governments will be coming out with different bylaws or an enhanced AI law, or whatever, how businesses is done. Like I said, physical space and times collapse. So how do you govern a business environment like that? So all this will need to be answered, you know. Yeah.
Nice.
So I think a lot of people are saying that there's not enough SME support, but I think the SME support will come out in due time, because I just saw that they were discussing on how to support small businesses and all that. But I think for now, the government had to take care of the masses first by answering of their needs to stop to reduce the anxiety and of course not to have everyone running crazy. We don't want that. But in all, I think do not be too demotivated. I think exciting times are ahead if we can just capitalize on this. Like I said now, you just need to be prepared, have your virtual self ready, have your virtual space ready, invest more in your, I don't know, virtual advertising, connecting with global agents on your stocks, global agencies. Because let's just say if you're an agent in a hard-hit country like Europe, you have nothing left to sell. They will need to connect with someone. They have people with money who wants to migrate out. For example, Penang has a rich European migrant population. Desa Park City has a great expat population. And every of these expats now will be talking to each other. How's your situation in Malaysia? Oh, we are doing fantastic here. You know, we are just leasing. We have a nice house to be in. Our curve is flat. Oh, it's bad here in Italy. You know, so all these conversations are going about, and this would definitely change the landscape of business and as well as real estate. This is what I foresee will happen. and in a short gist, in a summary. But if you have any questions, please feel free to ultimately ask. Yeah.
Super nice, Melvin. Super nice. I mean, that was. I mean, you went for 20 minutes straight on on exactly. But you know, you answered already so many questions. But obviously, by everything that you say, that immediately raises a million other questions, right? In the meantime, so is it okay if I ask you a few questions?
Yes. Sure.
So I also would like to invite anybody that is watching right now, listening right now. You just heard exactly what Melvin was sharing with us. He touched on very important elements, you know, on a global scale, a macro level. You know, what is going to happen in the world, what specifically will happen here in Malaysia, what would happen in the future, you know, based on our virtual presence, as he shows it. Also, learning from the past, learning from the history, how these you know, revolutions and how these new time frames, timelines get started again, and what is it in for the agent, basically, right? What is going to happen with the agent? So Melvin, I know you are very well connected with a lot of people in London, right? I mean, this if you think about it, this whole COVID-19 only started not that very long ago, right? The first cases in China, I think, was end of December, beginning of January, right?
Yeah.
We're about to jump into April. You know, it kind of spread through Asia. It went slowly to Europe, and now it's hitting hard in the US. You were talking about a global reset, right? Do you foresee that once we all come out of this, right, that the whole kind of wealth frame of the world will be completely different after this? So meaning to say that everything has shifted per country based on what you said, that the countries that, you know, contain it the best and resolve it the fastest, they will come up the highest after everything. How do you see that in the future?
I think when we say wealth, we are talking about capital. Yeah. So wealth is just not the flow of money. The flow of money is also international, and it has been flowing ever since. But let's take human capital, for example. The countries that were able to attract most talents were, of course, places like London, Europe, United States, and all that. But of course, they will continue to attract talent. But what I'm saying is that maybe, or I foresee some talent would start trickling down in Asia, is because if Asia recovers first, more startups would want to come here. And if Asia is able to combat this first, we are ahead of them in terms of the lockdown period. We are ahead of them in battling this. We will see a bit more human capital or people coming down to Asia to start live and work. I've known many. You are one of the very good example. You're here. Take example for the. I'll take a very good example for the. I'm going to take real estate. I know a lot of people in the F&B industry, in the bar industry. A lot of them are from overseas, Japan primarily. London primarily. Some of them are my good friends, and they have started, and some of the bars that you have gone to or have been to are mainly run and opened by them. So we are seeing a talent pool that we can attract. That's what I'm saying, and the flow of capital comes with them. So yes, there will be a certain adjustment, because if you look at Italy and Spain, if this happens there again, if you have a choice, if you're young, if you're 20, wouldn't you question yourself and say, hey, maybe this is not the place for me anymore? There's so much death. Maybe I want to try my culinary skills or whatever skills in a better, more safer environment. And what do you do? You open up the computer and you start looking at the curve, and the curves, the numbers don't lie, you know. So when we say wealth and all that, we also need to look at the movement of talent. I think that's very important. Malaysia has always had a huge attrition or movement out of talent. but I am sure if we handle this well, and I'm not too sure whether we'll be as liberal, but if we handle this well, we'll be able to attract more talent with the ease of doing business. It will come, yeah, and that's with these people coming, it will then create opportunities for the real estate industry in terms of investments, in terms of people wanting to stay, in terms of people wanting to rent. And I think that will be the next thing that is happening if we handle this well, of course, of the COVID-19. Yeah.
Yeah, so you were saying that you referred to, just now on the five ways that we can invest, right? You said stocks, cash, bonds, real estate, and what's the fifth one?
So you have stocks, cash, bond, gold, yeah.
Oh, gold, yeah, of course. So a lot of people going into gold basically to protect the value of obviously of the wealth they have, right? They put it into gold.
Yes.
Stocks, you said, is not much. A lot of people that are in the stock world, they say if you need to now have cash, right? You need to be cash rich right now. You have to prepare yourself to put cash, right? Where does it leave for bonds and real estate, right? How motivated are people in bonds, but specifically how motivated are people in real estate? What do you think?
I think bonds-wise, I'm not that as much as an expert in bonds, but I think bonds, we need to look at the performance of the countries, their sovereign wealth fund. If you have, for example, you have a bond with Temasek, I think that is very, very safe. But of course, the returns are not as interesting. So for real estate, what I've been shared or I've been sort of thought is that if one suffers, the other will go up. Of course, gold covers under commodities. Yeah, commodities can be crude oil. You can trade rice, paddy, sugar. All these are in the commodities market, same as gold. What I'm saying is that what will not devalue to zero, and even if it devalues to zero, you have a function for it, is ultimately a property. And everyone has been so hot in the stock market, speculating their money. Then you have the rise of Bitcoin and all that. But what I'm saying is that during this period, when all goes to hell, your safest bet or your safest investment is still a property, because you can't sell it. You still can live in it. Of course, don't talk about X people who own 10, 100 and all that, then that is generating debt. And if you don't have a rent, then that becomes a problem. But I'm talking about people who own 1 or 2 who are safeguarding their nest egg. Where do they put their money? If not in the FD, majority of citizens are like that. They are not so gung-ho or experts in the stock market. They don't gamble as much in the stock market, or what we call stock market casino. They just work hard, either save their money and put it somewhere. That is what we need to educate individuals now, that your money in the bank, it might not be as safe if there's a bank run. If you look at even some people play currency, of course now the US dollar has gone very high, is because it's a safe haven currency. That means countries or people are buying much more US dollars to safeguard against their own currency of devaluing or the devaluation of their own currency. So for the everyday person who are not in stocks, who don't have as much capital to put in the stock market or to play the gold or the commodity market, it's only these 2 options. You either have an FD or a property, So So what if we can explain to them like that and give them a reason, give them a meaning? And I think the buy-in will be there. It is something that we need to make them see.
Very good.
So that's why I say the mentality of a real estate agent has to be wider, because once you're thinking you're just a property agent, you are limiting yourself to just buying, selling, or renting. But I think with this current method or this current environment now, yeah, I always think from a perspective that I am someone who can assist my clients to make money and create value. Yeah, so value creation it's very important. If someone were to use you or want to use your services, you have, I think the most important question you have to ask yourselves, what is your value to that person? A person will impart money to you only if you can, one, increase their wealth, two, solve their problems that they don't want the headache of solving. Yeah, mainly it's these two things, you know. So these are the things that we need to answer and move. And I think the training it's a great tool that we have. But I saw yesterday someone was covering mindset shift. Yeah. So yes, this shift has to happen, and everyone now is forced to shift. You don't have a choice.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that
Yeah.
point. Yeah, we are forced to shift. You cannot choose not to shift. You have to
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of shift, right?
Yes, yes. You can mourn over not shifting for a while.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can mourn, take a week or two. I don't know if a week or two is too long,
Yeah.
but you have to shift. Yeah.
Well, that's actually an interesting point what you make there, because like you cannot mourn too long, actually, right? I mean, if you compare all the countries, and you were touching on that a little while ago, right? Like which country is recouping or is getting a grip on this situation as fast as possible, right? There are a few countries out there like Singapore seems to do an okay job. South Korea seems to really try to get a grip on it. And then if you look at the all the action movies, right? As a young boy, you would think that the US is one of the safest country in the world, but at this moment, that's the least country that I would like to be right now, is the US, right? Not only because the spread is so fast, but it seems also that the leaders of the free world don't really have that under control. They have what I see is like they have absolutely no idea what they're doing. So coming back to what you said on a small scale, is that not what it's all about? That we just have to accept what is going on in the market, make that shift, and then start pushing ahead for the opportunities that are coming.
Okay, I think just let me do a little bit of comparisons between the countries. Yeah.
Yes.
Of course, we always, as Asians, we have been brought up to think that, of course, we were colonized before. So the West is the supreme superpower and all that. They are still today. Yeah. But
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. They are still today. They are a superpower, but this is a threat that they are not prepared for. So no one has a power over this threat. So if we look at US, why are they still not locking down? US is built by industrialists. The Congress, the president, and all that, the lobbyists, the NRA, big tobacco, big pharma, and all that. So US is run more like a company, and industrialists don't like businesses being closed down. So Trump is having a hard time locking down the cities, is because their party is half of the campaign is sponsored by all these big industrialists, so they have to pay their dues or sort of listen to them as well. Then you have in London, of course. Now what we are seeing is they are still a bit dilly-dallying. God forbid now that the royal family even has COVID, and Boris also has caught it. So I think they are now taking this a bit seriously. They are contemplating a 6 months lockdown, but it's a highly dense city, so definitely they will take a bit of time. Whether the markets will crash in this region or the real estate markets will crash in London, I doubt so. And I'll come back to this point a bit shortly. Then we look at Australia. Australia, it's a bit volatile, because if you look at the debt to income ratio, you're looking at 190% debt to income, meaning if I earn 100 Aussie dollars, I'm spending 190 Aussie dollars. So you are living on credit. Property markets that don't usually crash overnight or sustain well are what we call equity-backed markets. That means countries whose population have a habit of saving, or countries whose real estate market, people buy in cash, just take 50% loan, or the mother, father has sponsored the property for their children. So if we look at such countries, Malaysia would fall in between. Some people, the investment property, they will buy at 80, they will max out their loan. But the properties that they are living in, they would have usually paid off or have a sort of very little loan. Similar with London, because if you were to buy in London, it's the elite of the world. They would always have money. They have the money to pay cash, but sometimes they just want to take a little bit of loan to mitigate tax. Interesting fact, your Prince Harry and Prince William's pocket money come from land or property ownership by Prince Charles, which is the Lancaster estate, which funds the royal purses, or the Cornwall estate, which funds the royal purses. Now, as for Australia, I'm a bit more worried. Is because you're looking at 190% debt to income ratio, and where does that leave it if rents don't come in, if people lose their jobs, if people can't pay mortgages? So then the structure would sort of slowly topple. So we have to be wary. So that's why I'm saying the pendulum shift now will happen, where we were once taught to think, oh, my great life will be better there, but the grass is not greener there now. Be proud that you're in Malaysia. To all the Asians, there is vast opportunity here, and you will have this opportunity because the capital has to flow somewhere. They are talking about quantitative easement, which is printing of more money. That's what they do, right? So where does all this money flow to once everything resolves itself? It has to come, and we have to believe in it, and we hope for the best, of course. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that comparing us now, and don't just read news that are opposing the government just for opposition's sake. We need to be realistic and look at the curve. Look at our response measures. Look at how our Director General of Health is responding, our government is responding. What schemes are we putting out there? Of course, now the latest vibes or talk is that there's not enough help for SMEs, but I think it will come. It will come. They will not let the SMEs go down because we depend heavily on manufacturing. Malaysian manufacturers are exporting all over the world, and it's the bloodline of the country. They will not let it go down. What they are rolling out, the first package, is for the general population, to keep everyone at ease and to calm everyone's nerves, which I think it's important.
Yeah. Okay, if we go back to a little bit to the property market, we see now that in China, slowly life is being restarted again a little bit. What means that the general business, basically day-to-day business, also starts to start running up again, right? And actually, I saw an interesting article that also even the property sales is also picking up in China, right? Meaning to say that there are property transactions going on, not as many as they want to yet, but because I think in China the whole property market stands for about 25% of the GDP, so they want to push that a little bit forward a bit, right? If you look at Malaysia specifically, I think Malaysia, me being, of course, an outsider looking at Malaysia, I think Malaysia always has had this interest for property, right? Do you think that is only going to increase, or is that going to decrease once we get through this whole stage of MCO and getting back to our day-to-day business?
Well, relatively, I think we have to look at the product sector. I think a lot of people who are MCOing in, I'm not too sure, MCOing in their in their apartments right now, I would feel they would say maybe, it's better to be MCOing in a landed property rather than being trapped in a studio or a 1-bedroom apartment or a 2-bedroom apartment. I would feel if you have a family, you have a children of 2, that would be something that goes through your thought. And I think there will be a shift of people, if they can afford it, they would slowly upscale. And I think there will be a huge or more demand for landed properties being in this after this MCO period, because I mean, it's just the nature of human. It's better to be inside a landed property, and cooked up in a studio apartment or a 1-bedroom apartment. Having said that, also on the downside is that people might have issues with their mortgages, having lost their jobs, having not be able to pay. Maybe listings will come out, but then you have to realize that as an Asian, whether good times or bad times, there will still be transactions. If they decide to sell it at below market rate, good for you. You get to sell a hot product. If the market picks up, there's more transactions, even better for us. So it's just how do you capture the correct product and put it to the correct customers, you know. Yeah. Of course, like I said, the issue with the Malaysian economy is that the pie was not growing as fast as we would want to. Of course, then there are more agents coming into the market, every agency faces this issue. Yeah. But then again, now, if this happens, people might not be able to service their loans. They might want to sell it off cheaply. How do you capitalize on such listings? How do you take ahead or take up these opportunities as fast as possible? You know, so good times and bad times, as long as you transact, you make money. You know, yeah. So that are my thoughts. It's just that whether it will increase or decrease, well, maybe certain product sectors that you will see the medium to high income, they might want to upscale. The lower income, they might have an issue with their previous purchases if they can't pay no more, if their savings are not sound. But I think we will not have as much what we call mortgage stress or overstressed loans as other countries who are much more in debt. That's why the debt to income ratio is very important. Currently, Malaysia, our debt to income ratio is about 80%. So that means we earn 100 ringgit, we're spending 80 ringgit. Not that good, not that good, but it's at least not at 190%.
Yeah, it could be
so
worse. It could be worse.
We still have that buffer. So whether will there be a total fire sale and all that, I don't think that will happen. We have not seen that happen in London, like I said, because most of the properties that are bought in Malaysia, where we lived in our own house, are mainly having paid off the loan or equity-backed products. It's just mainly of the apartments. If it's investment, then the loan margin will be higher than that. But if there are enough people coming in, like we said, the flow of capital, it can be talent and all that coming in to fill these spaces after this entire episode is over, then it will be a good sign for the real estate industry, because there'll be more tenants. Developers are happy coming in, filling in the overhung units. So I think this will happen, because people need to start working. They can't sit there and do nothing if their country takes a year or two. I mean, Lee Hsien Loong has just come out and said that this might take a year or two to overcome this, you know, or this episode. But then we can't wait. Everyone is just waiting for the lockdown to be over and get back to their normal lives. So thing needs to move on. And I think once the lockdown is over, people will find ways to come back up. And it is not a what is happening in the economy now is just a total freeze. People can't move. It is different from the financial crisis in a way, is because financial crisis everyone can move, but it was a financial crisis. So this one people can't move, and if once people start moving again, I think we will recuperate it better and faster. Now we have to watch which is the country that can overcome this faster or fastest. Yeah.
That's so nice, Melvin. That's really good. Some great value that you're giving there. I think it's good to look forward ahead, seeing that, like you said, everybody's is kind of like itchy right now, and they're ready to start doing something again, right? They want to get off their seat and go outside again and do some business, right? I hear people say, I want to go back to the office and do something, right? I think people are way too long out of their routine. Brings me to like, we're getting already very close to an end. So, I just want to go a little bit to the final point here, what you also made in the beginning when you were also covering about agents, right? How they have to start preparing for the future. You mentioned AI, you mentioned a virtual presence, right? You have been in the international real estate sector for over 15 years, right? Covering, like, you do a lot of business in London, but you also have clients from Singapore and from Australia. What means that, like, if you would give an advice, because there's many agents watching here right now, right? And if they would like to become more present for the international market, right? Let's hope, and let's just make it happen that we create a lot of international attraction. How should an agent start positioning themselves? What would you advise them?
I think the movement of attracting international clients would be number one from the agency head, because it needs the approval from the head of the agency. So in this case, it will be up to the management of Cornerstone probably to have a presence on platforms like Juwai, platforms like Zoopla, platforms like realestate.com.au. But again, this is exploratory. So I know that not every organization might have the funds to keep on putting up advertisements in these international platforms. But I think if I were to take a bet, I would say places like Juwai or which is more Chinese-driven, Asian-driven would be a better bet. The expats community, then we have to just reach out to them, talk to them. I'm sure they have relatives who wants to now settle down here in this light, primarily if they are from Europe. All this can be done, and this is an sort of an outreach program. So being internationally present also means increasing your circle of influence with all these people, not just on a virtual platform. That the virtual platform that the company can take care of itself. Your circle, I think it's increasing your circle of influence, mixing with people who are different, who are of other countries, who are here. They have expat friends, and this is also increasing your international presence. I don't know, but like us, we do a lot of talks, a lot of engagement with the British Chamber of Commerce. These are the things that we can explore on. Is there a Chinese Chamber of Commerce that we can go to and speak to them, and all these things. So that's what I'm saying. A virtual self, yes, you can be there. Of course, you're on Facebook, you're on your Instagram, you're on everywhere. But if you want a B2B relationship or a platform with an overseas agency, you can work with them. But I think now Juwai is working with IQI, so that sort of cancels that. But what I'm saying is you have to think of how to do this. It's still a question mark, but I would think if we can answer this and bring in a steady flow of inquiries, a steady flow of leads, a steady flow of phone numbers, a steady flow of interest, then that would start generating business for the agencies and get the activity going again. What we need now is activity. What we need now is energy. What we need now are people to call, to contact, and once it's ready, they can come down. And because China is the first to open their doors, and I believe targeting the Chinese would be a better bet. The government is very friendly now with Chinese. As you can see, Hishamuddin Hussein has gone to the Chinese embassy. Chinese embassy has helped us. Chinese has sent so much. So there will be a laxing of animosity with this current government, I believe. And I think if it's the G2G is heading that way, the business to business should sort of emulate as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice, very nice. I think that's some great advice. I think definitely your point on being more virtual presence, and there's a lot of platforms out there, right? You were mentioning, you know, from China, but I think there's so many international platforms out there that you can start connecting with people all over the world, and even can create your own virtual presence, right? As long as you are accessible online, what means that people can reach out to you online. That should already be the first step, because I think there are already so many agents that don't have that ready yet, right? They're simply not accessible online yet. So I think that would be a great first step, right?
So, for example, in Benham and Reeves, what we do is that we have a China desk, and the Chinese desk, its sole purpose is to contact, I don't know how many million agencies are there in China, but that poor guy sitting there has to contact all these Chinese agencies to look for collaboration.
Yeah.
How we can work this out, you know. Again, this is something that the heads of the industry will need to discuss, probably bring in the board, probably bring in MIEA. I don't know. We need different policies to sort of revolutionize things as well now. So each industry will have to come up with unique solutions. But one of them that we do at Banner and Reeves is just to contact all the agencies in China and speak to them about collaboration. If you send your customers down, we can take care of them. If they invest, we'll split the profits. You know, I mean, these are out in the open. It's in. You just have to think out of the box on how to achieve all this. But it's important to be able to dissect and deconstruct what we are doing now, and reverse engineer or re-engineer and think. Because after this, like I said, businesses that still function the same way, if it hits again, you're going to get hit again. So you need to be prepared for the second wave or the third wave. Touch wood.
Super nice, Melvin. That's really great. Hey, as we're coming to an end, we already have been speaking for over an hour right now, and we also don't want to keep it too long for the people out there. But any final last words, anything you would like to share with the group, Melvin, that you would say, hey, you know, guys, this is just one final message from Melvin?
I think the message to all is that if the most prepared to handle this crisis or in any crisis period would be people who know how to hustle, people who know how to move, people who know how to wheel and deal. You are not depending on a salary. If you are 60 years old, depending on a salary, overnight you have lost your salary, then that's real anxiety. But for us, like I said, you are agents. You are programmed like that since day one. Whether you have a salary or not, it doesn't matter. So now it's just all of us. We need to sit and like Yao Long said very correctly, we need to crack our brains on how to transact in a virtual world. And it's not easy. It is. Don't feel weighted that shit, how come I don't know how to do this. Nobody knows how to do it yet. Even we in London are still trying to figure out very creative things like we rope in even the tenant with the commission. If the buyer wants to buy, the tenant has to do the video shoot of the property. We send it to the buyer. And if the buyer buys, then because we can't move, we are under lockdown, then we give the tenant a cut. I mean, things like that. No one has the surety answer. But what I'm saying is that as agents, I think we are more prepared mentally and equipped mentally to go through this than a normal wage workers. So I think we have to look at a flip side on the positive sides of things, you know. And the positive side of the thing is that once this is over, like I said, the ground, the playing field will be again reset. Yeah, so everyone is starting back again from zero or from scratch, and that's where your motivation and everything should come in. That this gives you an opportunity to rise up again, because the ones at the top have to come down to your level now.
Yeah.
And of course, the ones at the top now coming down to your level also cannot lose face. They also have to start going back to the top again. So
Yeah.
it is an even playing field for everyone, and that is why it is so exciting, because then you will be able to prove your mettle. You know, and I think if you're hungry, if you are innovative, and if you are creative, you will be able to overcome this in this trying times. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Super nice, Melvin. I'm
you.
really so happy that that we had this conversation and we were able to ask you a few questions also from an international perspective. So first of all, can I just also talking from all the agents from Cornerstone, all the people that were listening today, can I just thank you for sharing everything with us? It was really great learning from you and getting all this value. So thank you so much, Melvin.
Thank you for having me, and thank you, Cornerstone, for giving me this opportunity. I hope this has helped. This session has helped many to ease their anxieties, and that's the purpose, I think, for me coming online. And I hope this has answered some of your questions as well on what is coming. But yeah, we hope for the best. And thank you, and all the best, and best wishes to everyone.
Thank you so much again, Melvin. It was, again, great to have you here. It was great to have this topic with us. It's not an easy topic to talk about, looking at the whole world, what is happening right now, but you definitely shared some light on everything that is happening. So great to have all those points. That really brings us to an end of today's sessions here with Cornerstone Live. We had a very special guest, Melvin Koh, talking about the impact of the crisis on the global property market. We touched on many things. So if you haven't seen the full session yet, my big recommendation is start from the beginning and watch the whole series again, because Melvin has shared some amazing things today. And hopefully I will ask him after we stop this live session, but I'll ask him to come back again in the near future, because I think he will share many more things. So ladies and gentlemen, here at Cornerstone Live, thank you again so much for being with us tonight. Melvin, thanks to you again.
Thank you.
And everybody have an amazing good night. See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.